Hey guys, can you hear me? Hey guys, how are you? Can you hear me? Okay, I just wanted to make sure because my StreamYard has been acting up really weird lately, and I have done everything to try to figure out what's going on with it. And Graz is MIA, so I haven't been able to talk about it with him. So, um, anyway, um, hey David, um, I'm not going to really talk about that tonight. I'm not sure what you want to talk about with that, but actually, I feel that law enforcement has done a really good job with the case so far. So I know where you're coming from. I know that it's easy to look at that and kind of think that way, but I just don't really want to bash law enforcement. That's just not what I do. Um, I don't think it gets us anywhere. And hey, John, welcome. It's always good to see you. um, Everyone, thank Jennifer. She worked on Nightbot over the last few days and got him up and running. Looks like he's doing well. So hopefully tonight he won't be kicking anyone like he was the other night. I do apologize about that. And I also apologize for my live being a little bit late. So I know I was supposed to go live a few days ago, but I had a medical emergency and wasn't able to. So um, anyway, we're here tonight, and I hope it will make up for the last couple of nights. So, hey, WL22. Yeah, Jennifer rocks. She's really good. I do appreciate her very, very much. She has been a great help to my channel. So, but yeah, tonight we're going to talk about a few different topics. One of the things that I want to talk about is I want to talk about a little bit about the psychology of CSAM. We're going to go over that a little bit. We're going to talk about a little bit about the individuals that partake in this arena, so to speak, if you can call it that, and what kind of abuse these victims go through when their CSAM is viewed over and over again on the internet. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Murder Sheet's last podcast drop. I thought that was a little bit interesting. So I thought we would talk a little bit about that. And I know that it feels like that, but I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that we're getting close. I feel, hello, Mayor Party of Six. So good to see you tonight. I I just I feel like we're getting close in the case. It's just a gut feeling I have. It's absolutely nothing, um, factual that I can point to. I just feel it, and I've never felt like that before in the 5 years since I've been following this case. Um, so yeah, it's just something that I feel about. I'm just waiting for a few more people to get in here before we start. One of the things I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to debut a video of Tech Death Hippie. He has a new video of the Requiem, which is my intro song that he did for me for my intro, which is not playing at the current moment for whatever reason. Grismatically Clever did the graphics of it for him, and it's really good, and I want you guys to see that. So, well, David, I could be, we all are entitled to our opinions, obviously, but I don't think I'm imagining things. So, I know we all want the case to be solved, and I think we're in the right direction. Let's see. So, how are you guys? How have you guys all been? Everybody enjoying the NCAA tournament, I hope. It's been a wild year. I'm a huge, huge basketball fan, and it's been kind of crazy. Thank you, John. You're awesome for saying that. That's very kind of you. Hey, Medicine Man. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here with us this evening. It should be a good evening, I think. Let's go ahead here and I was just waiting for Tech Death to get here. He told me he was on his way, so I'm just trying to get him in here. If not, I can wait until he shows up. And we'll just go ahead and get started because I don't want to play it unless he's in here. But I did tell him that we would play it tonight. So, it's I think it's a misnomer that people think that cases are solved really rapidly and quickly. This case is so intricate and has so many layers to it. And with all of the information now coming out with the huge CSAM case being the largest in Indiana, I would not be surprised that this case takes even a little bit longer than most because of that. They talked with a retired FBI agent recently that's regarding Delphi that said you want to go over every single piece of evidence and make sure that every single thing is dotted, T'd. I mean, everything you've dotted your I's, crossed your T's, and everything is in place before you present it to the prosecutor. And they're going to make sure that the case that they present is solid. So, anyway, I think that that's what they're doing. They're trying to get everything that they possibly can. because they want it to be a slam dunk. And so yeah, I think they have DNA. I don't think they have enough DNA markers to positively identify someone, but they do have enough DNA to disqualify someone. And so I think that that's what they've been doing with the DNA that they have as they go through suspects or people of interest to them. They have been disqualifying them in that way. So, True Crime Maria dropped an awesome video this morning. You guys need to go watch her channel. She's my bestie. Um, I just love her and I love her stuff. She really covers this case well, and especially the Kagan Klein and Tony Klein angle of this case. Hey, Maria, good to see you. There's Tech Death. He did make it in here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share his video and we're going to watch his video. So just give me a minute here to get it up so that we can watch it. He's such an awesome musician, and I just love this. Let's go. Full screen. Come on. All right, here we go. Share my screen. Thank you, everyone, for being patient with me. Great. And so now it's going to lag. What? Sorry, guys. We'll try this in a minute. Let's see what is going on. I apologize, everybody. Give me a minute. Oh, that was really dumb. Oh, come on. Oh. I've just not been having luck here with my streaming lately. Yep. Sorry, tech. I'm not sure what's going on. We'll try it in a little while. Such a good video. Riz did a good job. So you guys, I will link this in my description box below the live, but go subscribe to Tech Death Hippie and his music. You'll love it. He's well worth it. I'm really sorry that it's lagging and I'm not streaming well. I really don't know what's going on with it. It's been bad for the last couple weeks. I know that my internet provider is doing a whole bunch of upgrades to get faster service. So that might be what's going on here, but I do apologize. But please go see him. And if one of my mods could put his channel in the chat, that would be wonderful for everybody. So I can't say enough about him and Grizmatically. They're both super talented, and I'm glad that they're mods on my channel. I feel I feel good about that. So, hey AJ, it's good to see you. How are things down under, my dear? Thank you so much for putting that up there for me. All you guys can probably see that Nightbot is here to help us out. Thank Jennifer for that, all of you moderators, because she worked hard this week to get him to where he was behaving kindly. And she has him doing a lot of work for you guys. So you can basically concentrate on other things. I know that we've had a lot of issues in other chats of late of a lot of trolls. So hopefully Nightbot can help us keep track of some of that mess. So let's talk a little bit about, you're welcome, Jennifer. Hey, Aaron, welcome. It's nice to see you here. Let's talk a little bit about what happened with the Murder Sheets new podcast that they dropped. One of the things that I thought was interesting, there were two things that I came away with from the last one that they just dropped yesterday, I think it was. Or maybe, I think it was yesterday. The first thing was that Tony Klein apparently named his son Kagan after his favorite strip club. Did anybody hear that? Has anybody watched this yet? I mean, what father does that? I was just like floored by that whole thing. I mean, wow. So yeah, that kind of jumped out at me. It was cringeworthy a little bit. But I think it speaks a little bit to possibly Tony's character. One of the questions that Kagan was asked by Barbara McDonald in the HLN special when she interviewed him in jail, she asked if he remembered speaking with Kelsey German on the 13th of February, 2017 on the evening. And that was when the girls were still missing. And he said no. People were questioning, they kind of went off the deep end, both on Reddit and here, about why she would ask that question of him and what that meant for Kelsey. And sadly, people just went nuts and started pointing fingers at Kelsey, accusing her of having some sort of a relationship with the Anthony Schatz profile that she didn't tell anybody about, and all of that. And as we all know, that's not true. Kelsey actually came out after this and she made a comment, and her comment was, yes, I did communicate with the account. She reached out to everyone that Libby had contact with that night. She went through her social media accounts and contacted everyone. She said she had a 5-minute conversation with that account, and nothing was red flagged about the fact that that account or that person would know anything about the disappearance or the whereabouts of the girls. And she said that she was surprised at how everyone treated her about that fact that she would do that. I mean, I think anybody in that situation would do that. If you have a loved one who's missing, you're gonna do everything you can to find out who they were talking to or who they may have had contact with before they went missing. I'm just baffled. I get more baffled every day and more angry every day by the people who continue to attack these families, and especially Kelsey, and point fingers and make it sound like she's somehow messed up in all of this, and that she had knowledge of her sister's murder or whatever. It makes me so furious. Um, just to insinuate this stuff. Um, these families have been through hell and back, and they're never going to get a normal again. It's never going to be a normal again for them. A normal anything, a normal holiday, a normal family get together. Trust me on this. I know from experience, when you bury a child, you never have that normal again. And these families have suffered so horrifically at the hands of social media, and I'm sick of it. I really am sick of it. And they don't have anything to do with this, and people need to get off that train. I'm just done. I am so done. Um, they talked about Tony Klein's court case with the harassment charges. And it seems like they're going to have actually more documents that they're going to be uploading for this case, which I'm real curious to see, because this is the harassment case from back in 2009, January 26th. And the harassment that he was doing by calling this particular woman, over 18 times, and he was making obscene phone calls to her, and it was I guess just it kept escalating and he just kept getting more weird as it went on, to the point where she was just over it and she went to police about it. And so I'm really interested to get those documents. I think it'll be a little bit more eye-opening. They spoke to friend number one. If you remember friend number one from the interrogation, Kagan talks about moving to Las Vegas with him and his two children. And the murder sheet, when they spoke with him, he basically told them that, yeah, he did move to Las Vegas with him, lived with him in Las Vegas with his two children, which that in itself just makes my skin crawl. And he said Kagan was extremely dirty, and he loved to stay in his room all the time. And that was pretty much all he wanted to say about him. He really didn't even want to talk about him or think about him anymore. And you can't blame him. I mean, Kagan's basically thrown him under the bus with the whole I went to Vegas to get weed for my friend, kind of thing. Hey, Digital, good to see you. So I found those things that came out of that latest murder sheet interesting. So I will definitely link to the Murder Sheet podcast in my description box below for anyone who hasn't heard of them. Please go out and find them. They are a Indiana-based podcast. Anya and Kevin are really good people, and they are normally do their podcasts around restaurant murders, but they are doing a section on the Delphi case because they were asked to by so many people. And Kevin actually was living in Indiana, is from Indiana, when the girls actually went missing and were ultimately murdered. So he's basically followed the case since day one. He's an attorney, and Anya's a reporter, and she is amazing. She really is. They both are, really. I really like them. I had them on my show. You can go back and watch that live if you want to. It's on my channel with them where I interviewed them, and they're just really down to earth people. And you can, yeah, you, like Maria said, you can find them on most streaming services wherever you listen to your podcasts. That's where you'll find the Murder Sheet. But they are worth taking a listen to. I know a lot of people have said a lot of things about them since all of this has come out. Um, I know there's a lot of differing opinions. Um, Anya and Kevin were very careful about the information that they ended up with by happenstance. The interrogation files and so forth, and they took their time to redact those documents with taking away any victim names or anybody's name, address, whatever, so that that wouldn't get out there and innocent people's lives might not be ruined by it. And if you all don't know, another attorney or somebody claiming to be an attorney on Reddit claimed that they had the unredacted version of this information and that they were passing it around all over the place. And when Anya and Kevin found out about that, they had to hurriedly drop their information sooner than they wanted to. They were in contact with the prosecutor's office. They asked them if they were going to be upset with them airing a podcast with this information. And yeah, imagine that, Maria. I agree. Most of the negative criticism came from people who were passing around that unredacted version. Um, and they know who they are. We don't have to call them out. We know exactly who these people are. They don't pull the wool over our eyes, and they might think that they are acting incognito, but we know who they are. And so anyway, I really feel that they got the raw end of this whole deal, because I think they have a lot of integrity, and more integrity than many have around surrounding this case that cover it. And I don't think that they would have done anything that would have hurt this case. The more I think about this whole document thing, I really do believe that it was purposely done. I do not believe it was an accident. I don't believe at this point in time in the game of what's been going on since December and the release of this information. I think this release of this information is being done this way for a purpose and for a reason. And I think it's the pressure that they are trying to put on Bridge Guy. And I think they're doing a good job with that, from what I can tell. That's just my opinion. Everything I say on this channel, unless I tell you it's fact, it's an opinion. And there is people that are still on other so-called scenarios of who they think this might be. And that's fine and good. That is your prerogative to be that. You don't have to change your theory or whatever you think. For me, I'm going by what law enforcement's releasing, what law enforcement is talking to us about, and they're not talking to us about those other people. They're talking about Tony Klein, they're talking about Kagan Klein, and I firmly believe that Kagan's voice changed dramatically from 2019 during the interrogation to how he was with Barbara McDonald in December. He threw his dad under the bus in that HLN question and answer session. And they are connected to this case in some way. I'm not here to say they're bridge guy. I can't do that. I don't have enough information to do that, but I can guarantee you that they are related to this case in some way, in some fashion. Um, uh, so, hang on a second. Who? Um, what's Alicia? Alicia, I didn't even see you come in, honey. Thank you for being here. So glad you're here with us. Um, and um, that all may be true as far as whether or not they will be able to use these documents now in a trial. That would have to well be seen. But I think that there is a lot of information that can be gleaned. And I guarantee you, these aren't the only interrogations that they've had with him. I firmly believe that they are talking to Kagan a lot. And just because we have the very first one on his arrest doesn't mean that there's not many, many more. So there's a reason that this information is being disseminated this way to us. I just can't see it being an accident. I just can't. They have been so tight-lipped and so good at keeping leaks under control in this case for 5 years. That stuff's just not going to accidentally come out. So I was doing some research last week, and it was one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this, about how evil hides among us, and how evil is hiding in plain sight. The people who participate in the collection, distribution, and making of CSAM material, and these online predators, they live among us. Their fathers and uncles and brothers and cousins and doctors and lawyers and politicians and garbage men, and I mean, basically, they are everywhere. They are everywhere. And most of us don't pay attention to that being a fact. We go about our daily lives and we don't think about this stuff. So, okay, Rick, I'm done. I don't know what you're doing in my show and why you're pushing this, but this is what I'm talking about this evening, and I'm not going to argue with you about the police and what you think the police are talking about or not talking about, okay? The police have told us that the Anthony Shots profile is where this is at. And if you're not willing to go that way, then you might want to find somebody else to watch and follow. I don't want to have to get pushy and angry, but I will kick you out of my channel and ban you if you don't stop. And I won't say any more on that subject. So getting back to the point, sorry guys, getting back to the point, so the proliferation of this child sexual abuse material and online predators, it truly impacts all of us, especially young children. And because of the more than ever they have access to digital technology that's pushed onto us by schools, by families, it's like, I feel, David, he was being disrespectful. When you come into someone's live and they are talking about a certain topic, you don't keep spamming their chat with your narrative. That is rude. We don't allow that here. It has nothing to do with his opinion. He can take his opinion somewhere else. We're not talking about that opinion tonight. We are talking about something else. That was my point. So when I was researching the statistics of child abuse, I learned some really shocking things. More than 60% of unidentified victims are prepubescent children, and this includes infants and toddlers. 39% of teenagers or preteens have sent sexually suggestive emails, texts, or posts. 20% of teens have sent or posted nude or semi nude photos or videos, and 90% of children age 8 to 16 have seen online pornography. 70% of sex offenders are released from prison, they will reoffend again. Um, so before I didn't think much, like I said, about this. Um, I guess I just went about my day. I knew it was out there, but I never thought how prolific it was. Um, but after I read and started seeing all these somber statistics, I just understand that we have a severe problem. Nonetheless, the severity is muffled um, by the fact that 85% of our parents are blissfully unaware of the dangers presented by the internet and their children. During COVID alone, and the government's decision to switch to online schooling, many more children became exposed to the dark underworld of CSAM. And that's in no way um, bashing the government for going to online schooling, just so you're aware. That's not what I'm doing here. Um, but it just put more kids online than ever and all day. And when our kids are online and are unsupervised online, they are apt to be more of victims because they are so vulnerable to this. There's children all around the world that are suffering horrific abuse every day. Um, and I know that that's probably even more than the children that have accidentally encountered CSAM on the internet. But when you key in innocent search terms for homework or assignments or whatever, you can actually pull up things that you didn't wish to look at. Kids have so much more to deal with than when I was a kid and before computers were ever around, um, in their formative years. And not only does bullying at school carry over into their home life and home world, we've talked about that on this channel. These poor kids are subjected to constant interaction from their peers on social media. And with that being said, a lot of these kids who are having issues with their identities, they're just starting to wake up, they their hormones are racing, they're just starting to feel um those kinds of emotions, and they don't know what to do with them. And all of a sudden, a predator is out there looking for them and looking for that type of person who may not be the prettiest or may not feel the best. And they target those people. They target those types of children. Hello, Captain. Good to see you. Always good to have you here. Um, and they target those types of children, and they look for them, hunt them down, and then they befriend them and they start grooming them. And when they start grooming them is when everything becomes frightening as a parent, because um I've always said that I think that children get access to the internet too young, because there are too many things out there that you can't keep control of. And I don't think it's good for kids in grade school to have Facebook and be on social media that way. I just think that it's easier. to parent without that second headache of having to worry about it. It's just super scary. And I think that we as a community, we have a responsibility to talk about this and try to help. And it's not just parents, um, it's also the social media platforms. They have to start taking responsibility for if they're going to allow children to have um, Instagram accounts and Kick accounts and all these accounts, whatever. They don't, in my opinion, they don't do enough to when you create an account to prove that you're an adult. And if they did that, then we might be able to, circumvent some of these children from having certain accounts. I just think that more needs to be done from the social media aspect and the platforms for the companies to safeguard our kids. And um, these are our children. These are our futures that we're talking about, and it's really, really important that we take a look at this and not just sweep it under the rug. It's continuing. It's getting worse and worse. Um, Brad says, this is where I was too. It just didn't dawn on me that CSAM business was so prevalent. We've been hearing the QAnon conspiracy business since 2017 or so, makes you want to block it out even more. Um, and what's sad about that, Brad, is that these kids are real. These kids are the ones that are truly being victimized, and it's happening. And it is sad that QAnon has caused people to kind of turn a blind ear on what might be going on, because it really is a problem. And just the fact that the law enforcement has broken open the largest CSAM ring, it seems, in Indiana's history, I would say that says a lot. Um, a lot of us, are like that. We turn blinders onto things that we don't want to have to deal with or to think about because they're too painful. And trust me, I have talked at length with Maria about this very topic and how these men and women who work in the FBI and do this intricate work of CSAM investigation, I have no idea how these people do this long term. I don't know how they can watch these videos and these images of these children and these babies and these toddlers being abused and continue to function in society. I think it would really mess you up. I mean, I just do. And um I love that, Digital. That was great. Thank you so much for that comment. Um so I think that, we have laws that protect corporations from all kinds of things, but we don't have a lot of laws that protect our children from corporations and from this kind of activity. And I think it's a double-edged sword because you have to technology is a wonderful thing, but it's a double-edged sword. There is a potential for horrific damage to be done by it. And CSAM, in my opinion, is an excellent example of it. It allowed these people to connect with one another obscurely, um, anonymously. I had no idea that people were out there using Dropbox to share CSAM information. I mean, that all came about out of Delphi. Um, I never had my wildest imagination that somebody would be doing that, or multiple people would be doing that. Um, so, and one of the things that I found that these people, um, will use any tactic to get to our kids. They will befriend them as girls when they're actually 40-year-old men talking to them behind that screen, but they will act like a teenage girl to befriend them and talk to them and gain their confidence and all of that. And it's really kind of, I don't know, odd that these men do this, I guess. I guess I never thought of it that way. There's a YouTuber from Indiana who does Maria, if you're still in here, what's his name? Who's the YouTuber from Indiana that does that goes out and hunts the predators that are trying to meet the teenage girls and the young girls, preteen girls? There's a YouTuber group that they do this and they film it. And I mean, it's scary if you watch this, these people and how they catch these guys, and it's scary. Um, the other thing that I feel we need to talk about is that we need to destigmatize um, child sexual abuse and exploitation, because it does affect every single one of us, and even though we don't think it does. And um, it's almost like they devalue them. I don't know. It has such a huge impact on our society at all levels. I just really feel that um, stigmas are never a good thing anyway. I think that they're detrimental to obviously the person, their mental health, and trying to survive and overcome what they've gone through. But we continue to do it. We continue um, to to stigmatize them and make them seem less of. It's similar to what we do with sex workers, in my opinion. Um, they're the forgotten women and men out there in society because they're looked down upon for what they do, or what they're doing to make a living and try to survive. There it is, Predator Catchers Indianapolis channel. True Crime Maria just dropped it in the chat. If you guys want to go see something interesting, watch that for a night or two. That'll really keep your um, thank you, the captain. I certainly appreciate you a lot for saying that. Um, I'm trying to. I truly am. And it's difficult with all the trolls and the people out there that really want to push you in different ways and try to get you onto a different narrative. It's really tough. Um, but the reality of these children that have been abused sexually and put out on the internet for others to abuse their pictures and their videos, they have no choice in any of this. And um, these poor kids are just faceless victims to most people. And it's really, really sad to me um, to know that when I was doing the research, I found out that approximately 1 in 10 children will have been sexually abused before the age of 18. 1 in 10. And of these victims, 60% never tell anyone. We have to change this. We have to do better. We owe it to these kids. We owe it to the next generation and the next generation. We have to stop saying that it'll get fixed over time, because it keeps moving. We keep going from year to year to year, and it's getting worse instead of getting better. Um, um, I think when we're silent about CSAM and we choose not to talk about it, "Oh, let's not talk about that topic." We choose not to talk about that. Not only do we exacerbate, and perpetuate the vicious cycle of abuse because it needs to be discussed in order to prevent it. If we choose not to discuss it, it's never gonna come to light to the point of where it needs to be so that, um, people become more aware. It's always hard to discuss topics that make us uncomfortable. It's never an easy thing, um, but we really need to do it, and I do believe it's time that our educational system addresses this with our kids. I think we need to have and the middle school level and the high school level, some sort of whether it happened in health class or where it happens, these kids need to be talked to about the internet and the dangers and what's going on. Because that if it's not happening at home, they're not getting this direction at home. It needs to happen at school. So at least they know what to look out for. Um, Libby was talking with a catfish account. Libby was extremely smart, you guys. She was a very, very intuitive, smart girl. That in itself tells us how dangerous this is. If somebody like her can be swept away. And it's easy to get caught up. Um, at that age, girls are so impressionable and they just want a boy to notice them, to like them. And that's all it takes sometimes. Um, that's really good to know, Mayor, Party of Six. I didn't know that, and that is really good to know. Because it is important that we talk about this with our kids, um, and about being victims online to online predators because it happens more than we know. They, I just think it's something that future generations are going to have to deal with. It's not something that is going to um, get fixed overnight. It's too big of a problem and it's worldwide. I mean, we're talking something that is being transmitted and shared all around the world. And so these are crimes that are not super easy, obviously, to catch the perpetrators. They have ways of getting around ISPs and bouncing off of tons of different ones, and it's just sad. So some of the things that I was reading about these girls, they interviewed some girls about this very topic, and had any of them been contacted online or any kind of abuse like this happened to them, or was anyone trying to meet them or meet up with them. And of the three girls that I read about, every single one of them, they were all from New York City, and they were from a high school in New York City. They were freshmen, so 14-year-olds, 13 and 14-year-olds. And every one of them had been a- approached online in chats, um, by predators or people that were trying to get them to meet them in real life. And their stories were quite similar, I suspect, to many of our teenagers, including Abby and Libby. Um, we learned through the interrogation that Libby was introduced to the Anthony Shots profile at the sleepover weeks before the murders. And the sleepover that happened, that particular family and that girl that had the sleepover their family were friends of the Kleins. So we have that connection. After the murders, a week later, the girl who held the sleepover got off the school bus, went inside, and there was a man looking at her through her window with a mask. Now, I've thought about that and why would that happen and what would that be? And all I can say is that was to terrify her. Um, and I'm assuming it was to terrify her because she's the one who introduced Libby to Anthony Schatz. So she knew about the profile. She also was communicating with the profile. And whoever was behind that conversation that night knew that she had done all those things. And so when the girls came up murdered, to me, it's almost like a message to send to her. You could be next. Now, I could be going out on a real huge limb here and it may crash to the ground. Who knows? But I'm just saying that's what it appears to me. That was a threat to her. It was to frighten her. It was to scare her into not talking about anything else she may know. And I mean, how could you not be frightened? Two of your friends were just brutally murdered, and you know that you've been talking to this person who's trying to meet up with you because they know he was. He admitted that he was. And I mean, he admitted that he tried to meet up with Libby the day that she went missing. So that's pretty telling that he admitted that. And I'm sure that you guys are all feeling differently about things. I'm sure that we're not all on the same page with this, but I do think that they have something to do with Delphi. There's just too many things in that interrogation and in the subsequent Barbara McDonald interview with Kagan that leads me to believe that somewhere along the line, Kagan decided, I'm done protecting him to that degree, because he basically comes out and says, my dad could do this. My dad was abusive. And we learn just how abusive he was. It's like when the Murder Sheet released the podcast talking about the little boy that was abused by the man, and this was in the interrogation, the police brought this up to Kagan. They didn't say the boy's name. They didn't even say who the man was that did the abuse. But the fact that he grabbed this little boy, dunked his head in a toilet, slammed him up against a sink in the bathroom, abused his mother to the point where he had severe, severe injuries, the little boy. And Tony went to jail for this abuse. As far as I'm concerned, it was a weekend jail because he only had to go to jail on the weekends, if you can believe that. He broke this little boy's orbital socket. The damage that he did to this little boy was horrific. And come to find out, it was Kagan's stepbrother. And it was Tony Klein, his dad. And when asked by police, not knowing these people's names in this story that police had told him, what should happen to that person that perpetrated that act of violence on that little boy, Kagan said he should be killed right now. And I'm sure that they probably thought that that was a huge um, eye opener to them, both in what he thought should happen to the person, and also what if they revealed to him that that was his father? Because Tony was born, there was quite a few eight. There was a big age difference. I think probably 7 or 8 years between him and his stepbrother is what I'm thinking. Because Tony wasn't old enough to remember that this happened, and the stepbrother um, remembered it, obviously. And he did an interview with the Murder Sheet and he talked about it. And I still, to this moment, can't believe that that man was sentenced to serve his time for that crime only on the weekends. He was still allowed to live in that house with those children that he abused. It's just mind-boggling. We have such a problem with our justice system. Hey, Curly J, how are you? It's good to see you. Hey, Ditching the Grind, good to see you here too. Can you imagine though? Um, I just can't imagine and have to live with a man um, that I feared that much, that I thought might kill me. I mean, that's just crazy. I just don't understand our justice system sometimes. But the Alicia, I believe that. I don't believe that he was kind in any fashion. Everything that we've heard so far about him paints him into just this horrific person. I mean, just a monster in so many ways. Um, so Kagan was born in 94, sister was born in 90, and Bart was born in 88. So yeah, there was about 6 years or so between them then, or more. Um, yeah, interesting. It has, John. The justice system needs an overhaul in our country for sure. Um, we have laws on the books that are giving crimes a certain amount of penalty, where other crimes are far worse and they're getting little to no penalty. And it's the disparity between that is so apparent. It's ridiculous. Um, I think that Kagan is I believe what Doug Carter told us in February when he said that perpetual pressure works and persistence. Um, Pressuring Kagan is what I think he's talking about. They're putting pressure on him to talk more about his dad and what he knows. The fact that when he was talking to Libby, they know that Kagan had said that he had stopped talking to her because she was bothersome and she was bugging him. Um, and so he blocked her. And they told him straight up, that's a lie. We know that's not true. Um, but they also know that two people were talking to her, two distinct people, because the linguistics, uh, the act of writing, um, and the way in which they were transcribing their thoughts into these chat messages, it was two different people. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago in one of my lives. The way people write, and it's almost like a fingerprint. Um, Thank you, Ditching the Grind. You are awesome. Thank you for telling me that. Um, I appreciate each and every one of you, just so you know. Um, but I, you know, I think he's starting to break. I think he's starting to feel that he needs to talk more about. what he knows because they know that both of them were talking, or two people were talking to Libby. It wasn't just one, and they were both using the Anthony Shots profile. And Kagan, he actually admitted that yes, it's possible that he used that profile. He told Barbara that when he had originally told the officers, no way. He was blaming it on his next door neighbor, which they didn't buy for a second. Again, these officers are really smart. These police officers that are doing these interrogations weren't born yesterday, so to speak. These guys know what they're doing and they come prepared. Um, and they didn't let him off the hook. They told him, that's not true. We know that's not true. We have this right in front of us. So the other thing about what was going on is what was happening in Las Vegas. Tony and Kagan go to Las Vegas, and supposedly Kagan finds a phone. This bothers me. That's why I'm bringing this up. He tells officers he finds a Samsung phone on a rental car seat, and it just so happens to have CSAM on it. What are the chances of that? I mean, you're heavily into CSAM. It's all over your devices, and you're going to try to make us believe that you just so happened to get that one rental car where they actually left a device in it, and it had CSAM all over it. And you were using that phone, or someone was using that phone to talk to Libby while you were in Vegas. Really? And they continued to have conversations with her after she was murdered. And I believe that again was their attempt to pretend like they didn't know what the heck was going on. But obviously they did, because they were searching for everything they could find on Delphi. They were searching all their searches. They were searching anything they could find on the murders. They were searching how long does DNA last on a body. I mean, those are damning things, people. I mean, any way you look at it, I don't care what theory you have, those are damning pieces of evidence. They may be circumstantial, but they're damning. And yeah, Maria says the name of that phone was Klein Photography. So law enforcement could never find an actual business that was ever created for Klein Photography. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. Um, um, I do want to remind everybody that today was the memorial walk for Abby and Libby in Delphi. Randy Gravitt leads that every year. And I believe that Hoosier Cold Case may have photos of it on his channel from it. So go out and check out Hoosier Cold Case if you want to see that. But Randy holds it twice a year, a memorial walk for the girls. And I think that's amazing. So I just wanted to mention that. I just got a text alert about it. So I wanted you guys to know. But what baby are we? Oh no. Hey Jody. Everybody say hello to Tech Death Hippie's wife, Joe. She's in the chat. Jody, how did the baby get out? They have multiple guinea pigs. They raise baby guinea pigs. So it happened. It didn't happen after the murder, Lauren. I heard it happened after the murder. I think they have kept at them. I think authorities have kept at Kagan and Tony Tamara. I think they've been working this case from the very beginning. I do think that the first year they might have been led down a different path in some way, but I do believe that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, when they were called in to assist in the case and to look over everything at the end of 2018 and the beginning of 2019, that is when they were like, what the heck is going on here, guys? Why didn't you go after this? This is where you need to be looking. And I believe that that's when the conversation happened. Well, yeah, we thought that, but this is what happened that led us this way. And that's why we had the new direction, because they got back onto the right path in 2019. And that's what I feel like. So and that's just, like I said, that's just my opinion. I don't have actual factual basis for that, but I think that you have to look at some of these things realistically. And I do believe that we got the new direction presser in April of 2019, right after the GBI looked at everything. And you know, I just believe that. I just think that that's where that's at. Um, and True Crime says, hold on, what's going on with my mouse? Good night, Monshare. I've been wondering if they drove for that trip because Tony checked into the airport for the other Vegas trips, but he could have not checked in on Facebook. Very interesting timing. Yeah, we've talked about that, Maria. In every other Facebook post Tony made of all of his trips, whether he was going to Vegas or Florida or wherever, a car show, and he was flying, he always checked in at the Indianapolis airport on his phone, so that when he made a post about it on Facebook, when he checked in, it would tell you where he was. He didn't do that for that particular trip in 2017 in February to Vegas. So I found that all very interesting as well. And I think there could very well be a Vegas connection in all of this. Again, not trying to go too far off the beaten path with it, but it has dawned on me that, you know, if CSAM's involved, oh, Dawes, thank you. That's very nice to know. I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you're here. I because of Vegas and what Vegas is, and how things are thought of about in Las Vegas, I believe that it's very, very highly possible that if they were involved in this CSAM, that Vegas could be a place where they picked up, dropped off, shared, whatever they were doing in that regard. And it's bothered me a lot. I've wondered if there has been more to that than I really want to go into here, because I don't want to do anything or talk about or discuss anything that's going to hurt these families. And talking about some of this stuff already hurts them. And that's why I try to do it with respect to them. I always believe 100% that how we tell their story, or how we choose to tell their story, matters. I go back to this every time I have a show, and I just talk about a little bit about it. When you are okay with listening to some of the stuff that floats around on social media surrounding this case, and you know that most of it is salacious and it's put out there for shock value, and for channels to just get more subscribers because they like that kind of thing, That's not doing justice to this case or any of these cases. These victims are real people. This is not um, a fictional novel that you're reading and a whodunit. I said it before, you're not sitting around with your friends drinking a beer, playing a game of Clue. This is real life, and these are real people. And what can we do to help them? We can do the best thing we can do is to talk about their case, keep their case out there in the public eye so that new people coming in, um, if they hear of something that might trigger a memory or something that they may know and they can give in a tip, then more power to it. That's what we need to be doing. Um, I'm glad you did that, Lauren. I'm so glad you did that because I've been saying since I found out about him that he creeped me out as well. I did a lot of investigating of him on my own, and I found out a lot of things myself about him. And I have felt all along that he had something to do with this. I don't know what that means exactly, but I do know that they're onto it. Law enforcement knows, and they know a lot more than we know. So I guess the only thing that we can hope for at this time and this point in the investigation is that um, they continue down that same road and that we're going to come to a resolution. And there are people that don't believe that, but I'm a hopeful person. I've always tried to remain positive when it comes to this. And I've said it and said it before. If you lose hope, you have nothing. I'm not one to stand in front of these families and say, you're never going to get resolution. I couldn't do that to them. I won't do that to them. Um, Kristen Smart's family has waited 25 years for a resolution to their daughter's murder. And this next month in April, they're going to get their day in court with the man who's been accused of killing their daughter. And 25 years is a long time. And I hope that the Germans and the Patties and the Williams um, are not, and the Timmons are not going to be looking at that. As far as I know, Scott Graham, yes, he is under surveillance. I just saw a video from Fox 59 this morning, and they were talking about that very thing, that they still have him under surveillance. Um, Thank you, Ditching the Grind. That's so nice of you. I so appreciate you. I'm sorry I got mad earlier. That's not like me, but that particular person has caused a ton of pain in this case, both on Reddit here and here on YouTube. And I wasn't really sure where he was going with his conversation. And that's why I just kind of chose to be that way with that individual. Um, I'm not against people giving out opinions, but to try to push your narrative and be the way he was when I was talking about something else, I didn't appreciate it. So, and he's been unkind to someone that um, I feel does not deserve that. He's been very unkind. So that was another reason behind it. Um, let's see. Yeah, hold on a second. Let me get my thing off my screen. I apologize, guys. Um, oh, here we go. Um, let's look and see what some of you guys are thinking out there. Um, let's see. Just give me a moment. I'm going to go back up here and look at some of the comments. Oh, let's see. That's what I thought, Lauren. When you said that, I was like, no, I thought the masked man was after the murders. So you're fine. It's so hard. There is so much information out there to remember. It's so hard. Um, Tamara said, listening to Keegan's interview with authorities in August of 2020, they did inform him that following up on Anthony Schott's account, it turned into the biggest CSAM investigation ever in Indiana. Yes, that is the truth. And so, and there was Maria brought up a good point. There was another masked man incident back in Young America in 2010, and that's where Tony lived back then. Just so everyone knows. So, that's, I think, important too. Let's see. Alicia says that in the Barbara McDonald transcript on December 9th, Kagan said that Vito talked with him and his jailmates on December 6th prior to the Anthony Schott release. I would love to see the transcript from that as well. Yeah, wouldn't that be interesting? Well, he said that they came to him and basically was putting pressure. He felt harassed. And I think it's because they're just putting a ton of pressure on him. And they were letting him know what they were going to be releasing. And, I think that's important. Brand new phone, maybe a Samsung phone. Yeah, oops a daisy. That's true. They had a lot of phones amongst themselves. I will say that for sure. I do appreciate everyone who's in here tonight. I didn't expect to have this many people in here, and it's really nice to see that you guys are all interested in this as well. And whoever said that they were thankful for Kristen getting justice, I am too. I presented her case here this week for those that weren't aware of her. And what happened to her is just so sad and so horrific. And it goes back to meeting that wrong person. You come in contact with a murderer and you have no way of knowing that you did until it's too late. And I know she fought like hell. She blacked his eye and scratched him, and she did what she had to survive. But it's sad, and I certainly hope justice prevails next month. We will keep an eye on that case for sure. Yes. Hey, DMG, how are you? How are things over there in Scotland? Edinburgh's my favorite city in Scotland, right? Although I love Stirling Castle as well. It's one of my favorite places too. But yes, he did name his son after his favorite strip club, according to what the murder sheet said that they were told. And that is just, to me, absolutely incredible that somebody would do that. I thought that was really weird. But Blind Squirrel says, hey, Blind Squirrel, it's good to see you, by the way. Blind Squirrel says that if Abby and Libby's case, hang on, if Abby and Libby's case has jumped the shark and gone in the direction that the girls were catfished, Libby was smarter than Bridge Guy. The girls were on the bridge that day to turn the tables on the Bridge Guy. And I have said that that's one of my theories, or one of the things I think is possible. I know that there was rumors early on, in the very early days after the murders, that Libby had told a friend at school that she was going to law enforcement about something. And my thought was, if she found out or figured out that Anthony Schatz was a catfish, and she found that out after she made arrangements to meet him, and then said that she was going to go to law enforcement, that's motive for murder. just so everybody knows. Because stop and think about it. If anything, if it's going to break into their CSAM show and their what they're doing with their catfishing of young girls, and they thought that, and it's going to cause a disruption in all of that for them, then that would, to me, in my mind, that would be motivation for murder. So um very funny. He's lucky he didn't. Yeah, it was called Kagan Stein. Kagan Stein, Kagan Klein is how they said it. Yeah, Kagan Stein. That's a weird name for a strip club. I mean, the one I've been to, Club Cabaret. I always said it sounds like a really high class place. Kagan Stein doesn't sound like a strip club to me, but that's just me. Um, so um, yeah, I mean, digital, that's possible too. I mean, there are so many possibilities here as to what might have transpired. I just think it's odd that Kagan admitted to talking to her on the 13th, and that he was supposed to meet up with her. That's hilarious. Curly J. That's hilarious. Maybe it was a German strip club. Um, but yeah, um, the Brass Flamingo. Oh my gosh. Are these real places? Are these real places? That made me laugh. Um, but yeah. Hey, Grismatically, you're fine. I'm glad you made it. I'm so glad you made it. I tried playing Tech Desk video, and my streaming is lagging so badly that it wasn't playing. But I did send everybody to his channel to take a look at it. I did get to see it and view it earlier. You did an amazing job, by the way. So get glad for that. I love his video. Everybody go to Tech Death Hippie's channel and check out his new music, please. Um, but you're right. Kagan is a liar, and we have to keep all of that in perspective. The police can lie in interrogations. They can tell them things that's not true. So Um, thank you, Ditching the Grind. Kristen's smart case is very heartbreaking, and I'm glad that you enjoyed hearing about it, and will be one of the ones championing for her justice, because boy, she deserves it. She certainly does, and her family especially. Um, they have been through hell for sure. Um, but yeah, you know, yes, that they're saying that he didn't go to his grandparents on the 13th, but he went to his weed dealer's house, supposedly, and they have proof of that. They said they had proof of that. So um, it would be interesting to see what all their proof is. But like I said, they have so much information on these guys, and I think these guys think they're being super clever. But one of the things that the FBI agent that I told you guys all about in the very beginning, she was talking about the fact that when you have CSAM cases like this, it can take a long, long time to weed through everything. And when you have devices with CSAM on it in a home where there's multiple occupants, it becomes extremely important that you can prove who was actually viewing, downloading, and sharing and creating the CSAM. And that's what I don't think people understand either. You've got Tony and Kagan in the house doing this, and they're both doing it. And how do you decide which one's the one that was speaking to them at what time and all of this? So those things all become important and harder to prove. And I do think that they're alibying for each other. And I've said all along, I thought it was an alibi issue that they needed. That's their one piece. They need to break that alibi. Scott, the GBI got involved in the case because ISP asked them to. The Indiana, it's not uncommon at all in high profile cases for them to ask for peer reviews or to ask for additional agencies' eyes to help. And at the end of 2018, I think they may have been frustrated a little bit with the information that they had as far as where they were going to go with it, because I think they had a lot of information, but they just didn't know what was what. And so the GBI came in and took everything they had and went over it. And I think that is how we came about the new direction press conference. The GBI is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. So, and the GBI found issues that were overlooked in the beginning. And, it's, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Doug Carter's told us they know a lot about him, a lot, and they hope he sleeps well because they're coming. So I do think that that's very true. Digital says, I think if Kagan knew his account could be linked to this murder, he would have had his alibi down pat. I don't think he knew everything. He's lying for his dad, but I don't think he knows everything. And that's very possible, Digital. It's very possible that he doesn't. It's very possible that he was catfishing girls, but he had no idea to the extent of the things that maybe his dad was doing. He seemed extremely shocked at the super young girls, the toddlers, and that those images that they found. He did seem that way. Now, whether or not, I go back to the fact that he was adamant about wiping off a phone, getting rid of everything off of a phone, that he had already turned over multiple devices with CSAM all over them, including devices that had toddlers on up, engaging in sexual situations with adults on video. And he felt there was something on that iPhone 5C that he needed to get rid of that would be worse than that. And to me, that spells there was something regarding Delphi on that phone. And that is why he was adamant to get rid of it. He was either talking to somebody, maybe his conversations with Libby were on that phone. I don't know. But there was something regarding Delphi on that iPhone 5C. Why else would he be so adamant to hide it and then want to get rid of all of that stuff, knowing that he had all the other stuff that they already had and he was okay with that? So, well, Lauren, he doesn't have the means to lawyer up. He is, as far as I know, he's never worked. He's never had a job. He suffers from seizures. And he is at the mercy of the state. So he has a public defender. And so he does have a lawyer. And as far as Delphi goes, he hasn't been charged with anything. So he doesn't need a lawyer for Delphi yet. So, but yeah, that's what I really wanted to talk to you guys all about tonight. I do think we're headed in the right direction. I think that we have multiple agencies involved. We have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes when you have a multi-jurisdictional investigation such as this one, where you have so many players, everybody's not going to always agree. You're going to have information. Sometimes it's going to be difficult for one information to reach someone else, and all of those things. Um, the charge of obstruction of justice, Lynn, is that the girls? I believe it's the obstruction of justice charges are because he wiped that iPhone 5C before turning it into police. That's where the obstruction of justice comes in. He tried to obstruct their investigation by getting rid of evidence that was on that phone. And that's where his obstruction charges come from. Um, Thank you, Brad. You're so welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Um, I appreciate all of you more than you can know. I never thought for once when I started my channel that anyone would want to listen to anything that I have to say. So the fact that you guys come here, and I can have over 100 people in chat at one time is amazing to me. I appreciate you. And I know that um, as we continue on down the road with this case and we continue to watch what's happening, we'll have a lot more to talk about and to discuss. And just keep in mind that one day soon, we're going to have a lot of the answers to things that we don't have, and that we all want. Um, and I think a lot of us, we're going to find out we're going to be wrong on a lot of things. Things that we thought we knew for sure were this, it's going to be something else. Um, and that's what I think we have to always keep an open mind. I tell everyone, don't paint yourself into a box with a POI or with a certain theory, because none of us know. We don't have all the facts in the case. We're not law enforcement. And we can only go by what we know. And that's not a lot. I mean, we do know a lot, but we don't know a lot, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, I appreciate you all. I'm going to sign off here right now. I'm really tired and I do apologize. I'm recovering. And so, from my medical issue. And so I will be 100% soon. And, but I am glad that I was able to jump on tonight and spend some time with you all and talk about this. I do believe that we're going to get to the bottom of this case. I do not believe this case will go unsolved. I just don't. And Mayor Party of Six, you are absolutely right. She says the evidence sometimes leads where we don't want it to, and it's true. And a lot of times that goes back to um, the confirmation bias that we all talk about. I've done videos about it. A lot of us have, and we all have confirmation bias. We just need to let ourselves remember that when we're looking at things. And sometimes the information you're receiving and the evidence isn't where you want it to go because it doesn't line up with what you believe. But just because it doesn't line up with what you believe doesn't mean it's not true. So kind of keep that all in mind. You guys all take care and have a really good night and a great rest of your weekend. And as always, please, everyone be safe out there. Good night, you guys. Here's one more.